Imagine going through life, figuring out who you are, what your personality type is, and then suddenly you go through menopause and all of the things that you believed about yourself aren't so true anymore. Or maybe they were wrong all along, and you now have an opportunity to figure it out. Well, let me tell you, today on this episode, I was introduced to human design. Now, I've heard about it before. I think maybe I even took a quiz somewhere online, but today I took a real deeper dive, not only into what it is and how it's helping shape our midlife for the better. I learned a lot about myself. It was one of those wow, aha moments that everything about the world, who we are, and this concept of our subtle body and our energy and like attracts like, why we're drawn to certain energetic types, it all came together in one beautiful explanation. I owe it all to my guest, Lori Lisai. Unbelievable. I don't know what more to say about this episode except the fact that I was blown away. I want you to stick around to the very end and then turn around and share this with a friend. Check out the YouTube version of this if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your favorite show, because you get to watch a video. I've published a full video version of this interview because we have a very special treat. I'm sharing something very deep and personal too. You have to stick around to find out what that's going to be. Welcome to the Menopause Disruptor Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee, a fierce menopause doula and licensed menopause champion, ready to challenge societal norms around menopause. Menopause is often shrouded in stigma, misunderstanding, and limiting beliefs, but here's the truth. Hormonal change is a natural part of life, and it deserves to be embraced, understood, and celebrated. I aim to empower women who are navigating the turbulent waters with a wealth of knowledge in hormonal health, nutrition, holistic living. Each week, we'll tackle the taboo topics surrounding menopause with grit and honesty. I'll be diving deep into everything from hormone replacement therapy to nutrition, sleep, libido, and often ignored aspects of heart, brain, bone, and pelvic health, and continue to bring on the experts in the field of women's health and wellness who share my passion of elevating women's health and challenging the status quo. Together, we are debunking the myths and empowering you to advocate for your well-being with confidence. It's time to disrupt these damaging and limiting beliefs around menopause and rewrite our stories. Join me on this empowering journey where we aren't just surviving, we are thriving. Lori Lisai is a human design mentor and coach for midlife women and host of the podcast, Midlife by Design. She followed her intuition and left a successful career in teaching after 26 years to embark on her own entrepreneurial journey, helping perimenopause and menopause women shed the shoulds and learn to follow their own inner compass. Through a mix of practical application and intuitive guidance in readings and her one-on-one coaching, Lori helps women step into the wild woman phase and leverage midlife to be who they came here to be. In this episode, we will talk about what is human design and how it is helpful for midlife women. We'll talk about the 5 different energy types and shed light on each one of our purposes. Fun thing coming up on this episode, we're going to do a real chart. My chart. You're going to find out about me a little bit more, my energy type, when I was born, and the things that I'm good at and maybe not so good at. It's going to be an exciting episode, so stick around. Welcome to the Menopause Disruptor Podcast. We have so much ground to cover. I'm really excited to have you join me, Lori.
Thank you so much for having me, Mary. I am so excited to have found you and to talk about this whole menopause thing.
Yeah, I love that we're both on either side of the spectrum, helping women through perimenopause and menopause. But you're designing, whereas I am disrupting.
That's
So
great.
my first question, because I know the listeners are quite curious if they don't know what this is already, I have a little bit of knowledge on it, but not much. Tell us, what the heck is human design?
Yeah, great question. Good place to start.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's a tool for self-awareness. When you boil it all down, that's the purpose of human design. And in terms of what it actually is, a collection of systems that meld together. And it includes the Chinese I Ching, the chakra system,
Mm.
astrology, Western astrology, and it combines sort of those esoteric systems with science, so quantum mechanics and genetics, and it pulls them all together into this big mixing pot. And because of that, because there are so many systems, it's can be pretty complicated. So I like to just start with that simplicity of it's just a tool for self-awareness. And when you learn how to read your chart and start to decipher it, it's about just having language for yourself to navigate what's happening in your life.
Ah, kind of like your North Star or compass to give you new direction.
Yeah,
And this,
love that.
yeah, such a pivotal phase in the life is menopause. I really like one of the expressions that you use, and I've heard this said before, and I've kind of adopted it as well. It's birthing a second spring,
Mm-hmm.
stepping into that new season of our life where our role shifts biologically from the reproduction to something more, I don't know, spiritual or energetic, something
Yeah.
more meaningful and purposeful. So tell us then how human design is so helpful for women navigating through the menopausal transition.
Yeah. I love how you described that phase of the second spring being this invitation into something that feels like a different purpose.
Mm.
And especially for those of us who have taken the mothering route and we've gotten to this age where
Mhm.
our kids are growing up and they don't need us as much, and so much of our lives have been rooted in being a mother and helping our children grow into functioning, beautiful adults. So we get to this phase in our lives, and it feels like the roots that we've had are on, not on solid ground anymore, right? Like,
Yeah.
who are we now in this new phase? And the reason I love human design is because it's a tool that brings you back to who you actually came here to be. So this is where human design, I guess you could say it gets a little woo. I'm all about the woo, but it's the idea of how we came into this lifetime choosing the design in our human design. And oftentimes in life, we're following other people's expectations
Ah,
and, right, following a path that has been laid out by society for us. And it's not until we hit this phase for a lot of
mm,
women when we're actually asking that question, who am I for me? Who do I want to be for me now? And this is my opportunity to be true to myself and come back to my truth. So, human design gives you a literal map for that work and for that curiosity, and it gives you language to root yourself in who you are.
wow. Wow. So impactful, so powerful. You are an epitome of this shift because you were a Vermont school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
What what was the impetus to lead you into this transition, discover human design, and then recognize I need to teach this to others?
Yeah, I loved teaching. I loved the work that I was doing. I loved working with students, and my colleagues were amazing.
Mm.
So it wasn't at all about being bored or unhappy or anything like that. It was just this pull of feeling like there was something else that I needed to do. And I discovered human design when I was still teaching. I had been taking a manifestation course actually, and was really interested in that and just starting to get curious about thinking bigger, thinking beyond, the world that I was living in. And that course led me to human design, and it was a wake up. I felt my whole body lean in and get excited and like, what is this? And I want to know all the things. And so I've been studying it since about 2019. The summer of 2019 was when I started to get super curious about it, and then took a certification course and have just been in, we call it an experiment essentially, because the idea of pulling all of these systems together is that, okay, you get your human design body graph, it's called, it's the map, it's the thing that you look at. And you take the information that you're learning and you play with it in your life and you experiment. So, one of the things that I knew about my reaction to human design was that as a generator type, which is an energy type, being pulled to that, being drawn to that, and excited by it meant that this is something I should follow. This is a pull. I should continue going down this road. So ultimately, there were a number of things that happened at school. It was post-COVID 2021. Uh, and I had this moment in a meeting where I knew my body was so clear in telling me I wasn't coming back, because we were having a conversation about the following year, and our principal decided to go back to kind of status quo after COVID. And for me, I had spent a lot of time working to change the system. And when she made that decision, I just remember feeling in my gut like it dropped. And I said, wow, I don't, I am not coming back next year. This is crazy. And it took me a few months to come to be completely and well, completely might even be a stretch. I was it was scary. Leaving a job that I had been doing for 26 years was terrifying, right? But I did it. I felt the fear, did it anyway. And I love the work that I'm doing now and working with women using this tool, especially during this phase of life, to help them do the same thing if that's what they feel called to do, or to leave any situation that has been a challenge for them or that just doesn't feel like it fits anymore, and or to shift the situation in some way so it does feel like it's a better fit. So that's my little about my story.
Oh, thank you for sharing your story. I think that will resonate with so many listeners who are at this pivotal point in their careers, long careers, or even if you're not in the workforce, just at that pivotal point where things have, like you said, shifted, and we start to sense in our own body, sometimes for the very first time of getting to know who we are, recognizing a shift. And what does that tell us? And this is where the chakra system comes in, the subtle body, the energetic body. And
Yeah.
most of our lives, we go throughout life oblivious, blind to the fact that we have this other language in our body, the energy, and
Mm.
it's constantly sending messages. And I really appreciate the fact that you said this feeling in my gut. And our
Hmm.
gut, okay, I'm going to take a pause because the Canadian forest of snowbirds are flying over my house right now and making all kinds of noise. This is their training ground. Every year they come out here for a few weeks and then just buzz the skies. Everybody loves it. After a long career in the Canadian Air Force, this aviation, I'm like, oh, here they go again. Don't you know I'm doing a podcast? I'm going to leave
Right,
this portion in here because this is what makes our podcasting so authentic and real. People appreciate
right. I love it.
these
I love it.
sidebar conversations. But back to what I was saying about this feeling in our gut.
Hmm.
I love that you said that because our gut is always talking to us, that gut brain connection. And the work that I'm doing is more about teaching women how to fuel it properly, how to use exercise and nutrition, as well as stress management, to really start to tap into our true self.
Yeah.
But this really, Lori, is the first time that it's been framed so brilliantly through the human design concept that we have a whole other part of who we are, the energetic body, the part that always was and will always will be and will continue long after our vessel
Right.
has disintegrated, but our energy continues. But bringing it back to while that energy is still with us in our present day bodies, I'm curious by now to know what are the different types of in the human design and how does one go about figuring out their human design?
Yeah. Great question. And I would love to talk a little bit about your chart as well as we're moving through these. One of the things that uh, we were just talking about, the gut connection,
Mhm.
is super strong for two of the energy types. So
Okay.
in human design, similar to astrology, for example, where in astrology somebody might ask you your what's your sign, and they mean what's your sun sign. So you were born
Yeah,
May 28th, so Gemini, right?
that's right.
Gemini. So you're a Gemini sun. With human design, though, it's the same thing where you plug in your birth information. So it's based on that time and where you were born. You
Okay.
want to be as accurate as possible. So you plug in your birth information and it generates your human design chart. For me, I have a chart generator on my website, so you can go to lorilisai.com and go to get your chart and you'll generate it for free. And then you'll get the chart itself, which looks like a bunch of shapes and some numbers and some lines that are connecting them. And you get a sense if you overlay the chart on a human, it looks like you can kind of see the chakra system within it. And those shapes are all called energy centers. And then there are energy types. So, similar to that idea of the sun sign, there are energy types. In human design, there are 5 of them. And energy type is like the role that you came here to play. It's like how your energy interacts with other people. So,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
okay. We're on
So
to
the
something. Okay.
Yeah, so the 5 different types are the first one that I like to start with are manifestors, and they are about 9% of the population, so pretty rare type. And they are here to be our leaders, our initiators. They're kind of our fire starters. And
Like
what can
that.
be challenging about being a manifester is that most of the time, people don't know what you're talking about because you've gotten this idea or this creative urge that you want to go hard on, and you're literally blazing a new trail. So people don't understand because we haven't heard of it yet, or
Would
it's
that be
something
like the Einsteins of the world? Would that
like,
be
oh, that is a great question. I don't actually know what energy type Einstein was. I'm gonna have to look that up.
me?
That's a great question. It's a similar idea, though, of yeah, people who are coming and saying things, that you're just like, what? Okay. Uh, and I think learning that you are a manifester can be so helpful to you because you've lived this life where people don't understand you or don't get you, or they're struggling to connect with you, and understanding that this is just the way that your energy works can be such a blessing to you, and it can help you to give you permission to continue doing what you're doing, and just understand that's the way that your energy works. You came here intending for that design to be the way it is in order
Yeah.
to do what you wanted to do in this version of your human suit. And a manifester, each of the energy types has an aura uh, type. And the manifester is this veil. It's sort of difficult to see behind the veil until they feel like an invitation into that energy is needed or warranted. So
Okay.
those are manifestors, our trailblazers. Then we have projectors, which are about 20% of our population. And projectors are here to guide. They are the people who can look at a situation and see with such clarity what needs to be addressed or fixed on a usually on a like systems level, but they are beautiful humans. Their energy type is, or sorry, their aura is piercing. And essentially, that piercing aura lets them see into other people really deeply.
Wow.
So, super cool kind of energy type. Then we have generators, and generators are the most common energy type. They are about 37% of the population. And what makes a generator is that their sacral is defined. And this is coming back to the talk about your gut feeling. So, generators, and then the next type that I'll talk about are those are the ones that are going to have the strongest relationship with a gut feeling. Manifestors and
Huh.
projectors don't have a defined sacral, so their experience of that gut feeling is going to be very inconsistent compared to a generator or a manifesting generator. So
Interesting.
generators, yeah. So sometimes you can be in conversation with somebody and be talking about that gut and that gut connection. And I mean, trauma definitely plays into it. I think how well we can connect with our gut feeling, but also energy type. You know, if you are a projector or a manifester or a reflector, then that connection to your gut and that feeling, it's not going to be as strong as a generator or a manifesting generator. So,
I
yeah,
have a
yeah.
million spin-off questions, but keep going, keep going.
Okay. So generators are here are as our builders, essentially as our creatives. They are here that if you look out at anything that exists in the world, a generator is behind it because you need to have somebody to create the thing. And if we're tracking each of the energy types and how they all kind of fit together like this puzzle, it's the manifestors are where the ideas come from. It's how we get going. The projectors are here to guide the energy of generators and manifesting generators who are the creatives. So we all kind of work together, ideally, ideally.
Fabulous stuff. Oh,
The generator aura is magnetic and enveloping. So you think of a generator aura as like a warm, juicy hug. It's very lovely energy. People love to be around it. So, Mary, both you and I are generators. And what's interesting about this is people do love that energy and they're drawn to it. And the most important thing we can learn to say is no. Basically, like, I am not available to give you my energy right now. I need to,
oh,
yeah.
I'm getting shivers down my arms. Ooh,
Mm,
I can
I love
relate.
that. I love that. And actually, your response to that was such a sacral response. You know, there's so much I could talk about with this, but let's talk about manifesting generators who are 33% of the population. And this is the only hybrid type. They are a little bit manifester and a little bit generator. And
Okay.
how that plays out really depends on their chart. Some manifesting generators are more manifester, some are more generator, and some are what we think of as pure manifesting generators. So either way, it means that they can do a bit of initiating, and they also are here to have that sacral response. First and foremost, they are a generator type. But the difference between a generator and a manifesting generator is that generators are here to build momentum. They're just moving along at a pace, just do keep going. I think of the tortoise and the hare when I think
Oh,
about
yeah.
manifesting generators and generators. And then the man gen is here to be efficient and to spot efficiencies and tends to move a lot more quickly. So they're darting all around, trying different things, circling back around. So they may end up at the finish line around the same time, but the manifesting generator has tried a bunch of different things, whereas the generator is more likely to be on one track working forward. Yeah. And then the last type are reflectors. Reflectors are just 1% of the population. So
Wow.
reflectors are super rare. And what defines a reflector is if you look at your body graph, every single center is not colored in. And essentially, what that means is that they are our cosmic mirrors. So if we think about the purpose of all of the different types, manifestors here to initiate, projectors are here to guide, generators and manifesting generators here to create and build efficiencies. Reflectors are here as our cosmic mirrors. They're here to show us the kind of the wellness of usually an organization or whatever, some kind of group. And that's because they are consistently, their aura is called sampling. So they are taking on and borrowing bits of energy from the people around them and trying it on for size. And reflectors are here to be deeply connected with the moon cycle, the lunar cycle,
Wow.
in order to come to clarity. So those are the 5 energy types. And yeah, you said you had a bunch of questions.
Oh my goodness.
What you got?
Well, I'm excited, first of all, to find out that I'm a generator.
Yeah,
And I hope that I know that the listeners are going to be really excited going, okay, I got to go to Lori's website and figure out what type I am as well. But okay, step back first.
hmm
How does the time, because you said you plug in the time where you were born, the date, um, like a natal chart, how does
Yeah,
that influence the time and place, where in the planet you were born? How does that influence? Like,
yeah,
because essentially it's saying we choose to come to this earth at a particular time. So we enter it right at that window of opportunity that determines whether we're going to be any one of these five
yeah.
energy types. So how does that come into play?
You got it. And I know one of the questions I get is, well, if I was born by cesarean, does that change what my design would have been? And the answer to that is no. However you were born is exactly what you wanted, however it
Mm.
happened. So the timing piece this is where the science comes in. And what's interesting is the gentleman who downloaded human design as a system, when he was sharing the information, he talked about neutrinos, which are the tiniest bits of energy, of matter that are floating through the air, through the ether at any time that have information on them. And they're constantly passing through our human bodies and the things that look solid around us. They're constantly in the ether, essentially. And when you decided to come in to be birthed, there was the neutrino stream that was coming through at that time. And so the idea is that it makes this imprint on you. So you have two sides to your human design chart. When you look at the chart, on the right-hand side is what's called personality or your conscious side. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see design or your unconscious side. And the personality side is that moment of birth. And then the design side is 88 days before your birth. So you had two different imprints that happened, one coming in at the time of your birth and then one coming into you in utero. And what's fascinating is Ra Uruhu, which is the man's name who channeled this system, was talking about neutrinos. And then it wasn't until years later that scientists actually even proved that neutrinos were a thing, that they existed. And there's still lots of research about neutrinos and how, and I guess this is where you really have to believe that we are all one in some way, shape, or form, and that there
Mm-hmm.
are these pieces that
Mm-hmm.
connect us all. So that's why the exact time is important. And because the planets are shifting all the time, and essentially that means that the way that their energies are affecting us here on Earth is shifting. And so having that exact time helps us to see, okay, where were they during that time? And how then did they impact you coming Earthside, coming here?
Oh, wow. Everything you say, you just spin off another bazillion questions comes into my mind. But let's simplify it, Lori. We talked
Okay.
just before we hit record about showing a live example, a real
Mhm.
example of a chart. So, should we do it? Should
Yes,
we
let's do
reveal
it.
to all the listeners to figure out just who the heck this Mary person is by
Yes.
looking at her human design? There it
Yes.
is.
There
Beautiful.
it is. I love this because now I'm able to share
Good.
with you what specifics are. So when I talked about the personality side, I'm talking about the blocks or the numbers that are all down the side.
In blue.
And
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so this is the design that you chose coming in on your conscious side, and then this is your design side or your unconscious side. Each of these shapes roughly correlate to the chakra system, although in the chakra system, traditionally there are 7 chakras, right? And in human design, there are 9 energy centers. So the heart splits into this is called the G center or the identity center. And if you're listening, the G or the identity is the diamond in the middle of the chart. And then the ego or heart center is the little triangle that kind of pops off of it. And then the sacral splits into the spleen center, which is the triangle on the left facing inward toward the center of the chart, toward the bottom. And then the emotional solar plexus. You are a generator type, and what makes you a generator, the mechanics of a generator, are that you have this sacral center. It's called defined. Defined
Okay.
means that it's colored in. So
Okay.
you see how Mary, if you're listening to this episode as opposed to watching it, Mary has her head, her ajna, her throat, and her identity or G center, which are the top 4 shapes. Those are all undefined. And, or she actually has a completely open head, but these are all undefined. And that just means that they're white, or depending on the chart that you're looking at, they're not colored in. And then she has all of the rest of the centers defined. So you have a defined heart, a defined solar plexus, sacral, spleen, and root. And what makes you that generator is that you are a sacral, you have that center defined, but it's not connected to the throat center. If your sacral was somehow connected to the throat through these lines here, these sort of that look like tubes or circuits, these are called channels.
Yeah.
And if you had something connected to the throat with your defined sacral, then that's what makes you a manifesting generator. And
Okay.
I didn't mention this earlier, but to come back to this, I think this is an important point about the energy types. Manifesting generators are 33% of the population, and generators are that 37%. So together, generator types make up 70% of the population. And essentially, what that means is we live in a generator driven world. And
Oh.
this is where it can be really helpful for people who don't have this sacral defined, who we call non-sacrals, like manifestors, projectors, or reflectors. When they learn that they don't have this sacral energy, it's usually a huge aha moment. Like, wow, okay, I am not lazy. I am not just, I'm not exhausted all the time because something's wrong with me. It's because I've been trying to live like a generator type my entire life. And this is my permission slip to stop doing that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is incredible. I'm reading all the information, the details on the
Oh,
far
good.
right.
Yeah. Uh,
So,
Go ahead.
what really strikes me the most, bang on, is the strategy, how you take action and interact with the world. And I wait to respond. That, let me tell you, when you are working in a corporate workplace and you are a generator, this is just like the light bulb is going off here. And you're sitting around those board meetings and you're taking in all this information. Of course, my line of work was communications. Not surprising, I'm a Gemini, and that's what we
Mhm.
do. But when you wait and you take it all in and you strategize, that gap of not speaking, not responding, or jumping in to fill the gap of silence is often misinterpreted as she doesn't get it or
Mm.
she's an airhead. And then that plays on your mental well-being. You go through the automatic negative thought process. The hell's the matter with me? I'm not fitting in. But we can't render a decision because we have to let it simmer in the gut, so to speak, and have that right feeling of when it's right to act. With that in
Oh,
mind, yeah,
oh
with
my
that in
gosh.
mind, then I would imagine now, Lori, the work that you're doing is then helping women at this pivotal time in their lives to take in this information and be completely okay with who they have to be energetically in order to honor their human design. Am I right?
100%.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
can I would love to reflect for you how your human design illustrates all of the things that you just talked about. So you talked about waiting to respond, and that is tapping into that gut feeling. The idea for generator types is that you wait to respond, and what you're waiting for is that gut feeling. You're waiting for your gut to remember how I was saying earlier that I knew when I had the gut drop that I was
Hmm.
leaving. And I
Hmm.
knew when I found human design, I had this like, oh, what? Like super excited. I felt pulled toward it, right? So that's the response that you're waiting for, is that gut check. Now, what another thing
Yeah.
you said was, I need the time to let it percolate, to let it sit. And you are an emotional authority. So, your authority in human design is how you are designed to make decisions. And this is
Mm.
such, I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of times what happens, especially with some of the other markers in your chart, is people could tend to jump right in. They could get that sacral response and be super excited about something and just want to go for it. But you are saying, I need that time to let it percolate. And 50% of the population has this solar plexus authority, which essentially, when you boil it all down, just means you need to wait. You need to take your time, sleep on it at least once, at least one night if you can, depending on the size of the situation. You know, if you're an emotional authority, you're not going to wait a night to figure out what to eat for dinner. But if it's a decision with some weight, you want to take time. And the reason is because you're waiting for more information to come into your purview, to come into your world, to give you kind of these breadcrumbs to lead you to clarity, to a strong decision. And emotional authorities are driven by an emotional wave, which means that you need to give yourself time to feel through the whole wave instead of making, especially sacrals, they're like, oh my God, that sounds so great. That's so exciting. And we want to jump right in based on that excitement. And then we don't let it sit. And then the next day we're like, oh my God, why did I commit to that? Or why, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did I spend $10,000 on a bloody digital course I don't need?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So, with the emotional solar plexus, you talked about letting it percolate. That is beautiful and exactly what I would want to hear from you. However, because most people don't understand that half the population has this authority, they our tendency, especially being 70% generators in the world, is like, well, if you're smart, that means you can make decisions right on your feet. And it means you can know exactly what you want right in the moment. Very masculine kind of energy. And for you, you have a completely open head. The head center is all about inspiration and ideas. And then you have an undefined ajna, which is our filter. It's where we take those ideas and form opinions about them. And so when it's open or undefined, it means that it's inconsistent. You have room, you can see both sides of something. You take in and amplify other people's ideas and inspirations. So the challenge of having these centers either open or undefined is that you can get into that, well, I don't know enough, or I don't know the answer, therefore
Mm.
I must be stupid or whatever. So you were
Yeah.
reflecting that as well, right? Is
Yeah.
is this feeling of, oh, how do I sit and
Wow.
wait and feel grounded in that? And this is where I love human design so much because it gives you the language and you can look at your chart and say, wow, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I am actually doing exactly what I came here to do. And I can start to, we call it decondition, right? Pull off those layers of expectation, of feeling like we should be something else or we should be following somebody else's plan and just be who we came here to be.
Hmm. Wow. I would also say on the flip side is that for me, knowing this generator type now, and that it's the gut feeling, taking my time to really strategize and think things over is my nature. However, the moment I'm in a situation where I recognize something isn't right, I have a tendency to dive right away and call it out for what it is because it's like I've been punched in the gut and my whole body is saying, I call BS. This isn't right. Or I see the injustice in the world and I'm just, which
Wow.
I have to honor that. But at other times I think, I should have reined it in a little bit. I could be a little bit feisty, a little bit of a disruptor.
Mm-hmm. That's a
So,
beautiful thing.
and that's very much part of that generator type.
Not necessarily generator. So, a couple of things I would say about that. One, you have a defined spleen, which the spleen is about its intuition. our
Ah,
center for intuition. So you're attuned to when something feels off. There's,
okay.
yeah, there's also in the spleen, it's also this safety mechanism. It's the oldest energy center. It's the one that it's the one that we
Okay.
share with animals.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so it's that energy of I'm unsafe. I'm running away before I even realize what's happening, kind of thing. Those are the two things that I would say that are connected there. There are some other things, but for beginners, I think it's good not to get too into the weeds. And okay, I'll say one more thing, which is your personality line. So there's something called profile, which is your personality. It's similar to the role that you play. You're a 2/4. And that two line is a natural at things. Oftentimes, things come easily to you. It can be a situation where somebody might look at you and say, how on earth did you do this? Or how did you even know to do this? And to you, it just feels like blinking or breathing. To you, you're like, what? Everybody doesn't do
Doesn't
that or
every
know how to do that. So I feel like there's a flavor of that coming in potentially as well.
All right, we could spend a lot of time just talking about my chart, but I definitely want to bring this back to something that's relevant and relatable for all the listeners in menopause. There are things that you offer to your clients.
Mhm.
Tell us about all your courses because my interest has been piqued. I'm sure the listeners' interests have been piqued, whether they're watching it with the chart and just getting a general sense of knowing that 37% of us, well, 70 all combined, are the generators. I'm sure that this has just tweaked so much curiosity. So tell everybody how they can work more one-on-one with you.
Yeah, for sure. So I do one-on-one coaching. Just essentially what that looks like is coming to me with something that's going on, usually related to perimenopause, midlife transitions, that type of thing, and then working together using your chart to bring you more clarity, to get you unstuck, to start to help you shift into feeling like you're living who you want to be and you're being who you
Yeah.
want to be.
Mm,
And I used the word permission earlier. I think that human design gives you the permission that oftentimes you don't even know you're looking for. So that is a longer, almost like one long reading where we spend the time over usually 3 to 6 months working together. So I have that. And I also offer readings, just, let's sit down and look at
oh,
your chart and we can break it apart. We can, again, because I'm a generator, I tend to ask people, what exactly do you want to look at? What's going on in your life that we could pull some
of course.
threads in human design so you feel like, okay, I'm learning about myself and I'm also helping to get myself out of a bind in some way. Usually people are seeking this knowledge because they're looking to better some part of their life in some way. So I
Mm-hmm.
do offer readings. And then I
Okay.
have a group program called Midlife Magic that will be launching relatively soon. And you can get on the wait list there on my website for that. And then I have a free perimenopause survival guide
Oh,
that is,
lovely.
yeah, it's based on your energy type. So you
Oh,
run your chart and it's customized to you and your energy. And you can learn about not only your energy type, but also how it relates to perimenopause and your experience in perimenopause and what can you do to better take care of yourself based on your energy type.
oh, wow. There's just so much.
I know.
I'm a true believer. I don't know if this is a generator type, but I am a true believer that the universe always has your back. And if you pay
Mm,
attention to those little breadcrumbs, really lean into that. And that's the trust your gut part.
it is.
You, the universe is sending you signs all the time. It's
Yeah.
like it's reading your mind. It's like, oh, and that's what happened. I swear with me, it's like, you need to meet Lori. Okay, here's Lori. And she's just told me what my design is, which for someone, and my listeners know this by now because I talk about it a lot, with someone who's had PTSD from occupational stress injury, and then you add on a concussed brain, a head injury, and then menopause. So if you've had any underlying neurodivergent traits, and park that thought because I want to get back to that neurodivergency. So you add
Mhm.
those three things, and the neurodivergent traits tend to come back tenfold once the estrogen leaves the body. It's like, hey, surprise, guess what? We're here again. So for those three things,
Mhm.
and then you're going through life and trying to figure out why do I do what I do? Is it because of the injury? Is it because of the PTSD? And it's really easy for us to go into that negative thought pattern. Really easy because the brain's job is to protect the body. The brain's job is to say, I've been assigned to help you survive in this world. And so you have hypervigilance beyond control and trust issues beyond control and a tendency to blame yourself and internalize everything that's going on. This, Lori, to me has been literally my permission slip to be human on my
Mm,
freaking terms or
mm,
by my design. Oh, that should be the title of the podcast.
love it.
Permission slip to be human by your design. Oh, okay, we're on to something. But see what I mean? Like this has been so enlightening and it's coincides so nicely with where I am in my transition and having come out the other end saying, I don't want to freaking do corporate anymore. I want to help women because this was my pain point. And now my mess is my message. And I'm going to
Yeah.
help them through their transformation to get the same results that I'm getting, which is exactly what you're doing, of course, too. But I
Yeah.
really believe that the universe just comes along right when you need a little something just to remind you, hey, remember that design? Remember your blueprint? It's all in there.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm.
then just start trusting your gut. Trust your gut. I say that a lot. Trust your gut. A wise woman, when she enters menopause and then steps out on the other side, is able to lean into that intuition, which is the gut, which is the third eye, of course,
Mm,
and really find her true purpose. You are a blessing, Lori. But I want to go back to that part about neurodivergency. When
mhm.
you were describing all five of the energy types, about the manifestors, that they have trouble with communicating their ideas, their bright ideas, because they're nonsensical to a lot of people.
Mm,
And that they have this aura type was, you said the veil, it's
mhm.
kind of covered their aura type. So it was hard for their energy to connect. I'm wondering if individuals with a neurodivergent trait are tend to be a little bit more manifestors. Now, not to say that if you were born at a certain time and place and point, that you're going to have a neurodivergent trait, but I'm just wondering if that neurodivergency is a prominent feature so that they can be manifestors. Does that make any sense?
Mm, it does. And I'm not sure that I would equate or that I would make a deep connection at the energy level for human design types. However, like I said, it's a bunch of different systems, right, that are connected. And I like to look at the gates, which are when you're looking at the chart, it's the numbers. Those are all the numbers.
Oh,
Those are called
okay.
gates. And there's one in particular that I look at, which is gate 9. And actually, I'm just going to share my screen again so we can look at your chart because it's a great example. So gate 9 is down here in the sacral, and it's reaches toward the root center. The root has gate 52, which when those two are both defined, you'll have the 952 channel, which is the channel of concentration. And gate 9 is the side of, or the half of the channel that's really about focus on details and understanding, most importantly, what details to focus on. So
I'm a detail
when
oriented person.
yeah. And the thing about ADHD is it's not necessarily that people who have ADHD as an example have problem focusing. It's that they can be hyper focused on something, right? And that can
Right.
be
Okay.
the challenge. There's a little bit of both, right? There is like distractibility, but also that hyper focus. And the trick is understanding yourself well enough to know what are the environments I can put myself in, what are the conditions
Okay.
it works best in. So when you have gate 9 and you don't have gate 52, you don't have the full channel, it's going to be a little bit more challenging for you in regards to the focus piece because you don't have that flow of energy. You have the half. And so what I would say here is a hack for your listeners and for you yourself. If you find that you're having trouble focusing, get out of the house and go work in a coffee shop or a library or someplace where you can be around other people. Because what happens is if you look at your chart and you see all of these little numbers that are like halfway, they're half of a channel. So for you, for example, you've got 9, you don't have the 52. That 9, think of it like a little energy tendril that's out. It's electromagnetic. So it's looking for the 52. The
Oh,
52,
interesting. Wow.
yeah. So the 52 is the gate of stillness. It's the gate that brings you that ability to sit still and just be and allow that focus to come in. Interesting. I have the gate 52. So together, when we're together and talking, we complete this channel together. And if you go to a coffee shop and you're around somebody, if there are a bunch of people around, you're bound to be around somebody who has that gate 52. So you can lock in and you might find that it's easier to focus. You still can put your headphones in or whatever you need to help you really dial in your environment if you get distracted by sounds or whatever, but you're sort of borrowing that energy for that time period to help you focus.
Oh my goodness. Is this what they mean by our energy, like vibration, like attracts like? So would this be like we are receptors for that opposing, or I shouldn't say opposing, that complementary energy to complete the channel? Is that what
Yeah.
they mean when they say you're drawn to the energy of others
Yeah.
subconsciously?
This is how the energetics work. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of that idea of you complete me, you know, in
Oh,
in an energetic way. Yeah.
that is fascinating. I
Yeah.
just learned something incredible right now. That is so interesting. And I'm looking at this thing, there's a lot of empty channels or open channels, and then there's a lot
So,
of half open channels.
right. So when you have a gate, it's called a hanging gate. When it's half of a channel, you think of it as like this tendril that's hanging, waiting to connect with the other half of it.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever go around life saying, oh, you're nothing but a hanging gate?
Right.
Oh, this is so cool. So we can actually do things then in our lives. We're not stuck with this. This isn't permanent. We can actually do exercises or take on activity that helps that channel complete,
Right.
like the complete.
Yeah.
Wow.
You came in with your design on purpose.
Okay.
So I don't want your listeners to think you're looking to fix yourself in any way because this was the design that you came here to live
Okay.
out. It's more like some hacks or some tricks when you're trying to accomplish something or you're trying to have a better understanding of something. Yes, you can borrow people's energy for a little while and just noticing that, oh, okay, I feel unfocused today. I'm going to go work in the coffee shop and see if that makes a difference. You know, you're doing that favor for yourself, and then you can go back home and be totally unfocused or be feeling all over the place. And then who knows, maybe you get 5 different areas of your house clean because one thing leads to another, to another, to an, like random things come together and you allow your what feels like it's out of focus to just lead you to where you're meant to be when it's not structured and you don't need to accomplish a specific thing.
And on the flip side, we have our design that we chose and came to this world with. So going back to the point about a neurodivergent trait or any condition that we've been exposed to within our lifetime, a trauma, a condition, a medical situation, an injury, and illness, that doesn't necessarily define the energy type. It just kind of can shape it no matter what energy type we are, whatever other conditions or layers we have with ourselves can shape how we act out. But then when we go back to our design, we can learn again, okay, this is my design. No matter what has happened to me, I can still use the design to find my truth.
Yeah,
Is that right? Okay.
absolutely.
My goodness. I'm glad you found me.
Yes, me
Because
too.
you're helped me work on something here. And I feel so energized and full of great ideas. And my brain is just, yeah, being a generator
Yay.
brain.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. That's so great.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, anytime I'm able to introduce somebody to human design is a win because it's made such a difference for me in helping me navigate perimenopause and really giving myself permission to do the things that I want to do and to understand how I work. It's like a manual for yourself.
Yeah, you've said it perfectly. And in the context of lifestyle protocols for managing the midlife transition, we can follow the key protocols of lifestyle, so our nutrition and exercise. The more that we can help our body physically, we're helping it energetically so that we have the ability to open up those channels and create more of a mind-body connection. That's a whole other discussion. But back to simple lifestyle protocols for managing menopause. Exercise, what we eat, how we manage stress, and sleep management. Things we can do to improve our sleep, because sleep is the panacea as far as I'm concerned for everything. But then the sense of community. But now you got those 5. This is like the 6th protocol, which is allowing yourself that permission. You can shape and change the body and change what you eat and stress management. But now you have this design, this chart, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, your
Mm-hmm.
compass heading that tells you everything that you are doing still falls within this design. And here is your permission to have the personality that you have and work with it within the context of all the other systems that we find ourselves in this dense earthly planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love that you named off all of the different kind of protocols and ways to approach perimenopause and menopause. And human design has something to say about all of those, actually. It
Okay.
even, like, you can, for example, an exercise routine for a non-sacral being versus a sacral being, I would approach those two things differently. A projector will probably be completely exhausted with a 5-day lifting weights routine or a lot of cardio throughout perimenopause and menopause versus a generator type that might be supportive for them. Another thing that might come into play would be their root. If you have a defined root or an undefined root, there's a big difference between how those two function. Human design also talks about our digestion and how we take in not only food, but information. So, for example, your digestion is nervous touch. And essentially, what that means is that it's best for you to kind of be in this like buzzing, moving around. I don't know if you eat on the go, but that is supportive for you if you are able to eat on the go or to eat while you're doing something else or to just have some action and moving around. Yes.
And even
Yes.
when I'm sitting at the dinner table, my leg is fidgeting. Ding, 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 ding,
There
ding,
you
ding, ding,
go.
ding, ding. I cannot
Yes.
sit still.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of these gurus who come out with this blanket statement of when you're eating, you really should sit in quiet and pay attention to every bite that you take and et cetera, et cetera. And yes, for some people, for example, if you are calm touch, yes, that is perfect. Sit in quiet. Try to have your environment be as calm as possible, but that's not going to be productive or helpful for the digestion of somebody who has nervous touch, who has high sound or something like that. There
Mm.
are digestions that are, there's one called consecutive, for example, where it's best for you if you, let's use the Thanksgiving dinner plate as an example here. You sit down, you have a big plate of all the different things. Instead of mixing everything up, consecutive appetite is best by eating the turkey first and then moving to the sweet potatoes and eating all of those, et cetera, et cetera. And eating a fresh diet that is seasonal really is like a consecutive appetite. So anyway, those are some
Ah,
of the more like the finer details of human design, but all of them are reflected, which is just another reason that I love to use human design to help us during perimenopause, because it touches on all of those things and it
so great.
personalizes it, you know?
So great. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. You know, this is going to shift the way I coach and train women. You know, when because I help them with their strength training programs and I just help them with as a menopause doula. We just are there to hold space with them and give them these little tricks and tips and knowledge about what they have at their disposal to take
Mm-hmm.
agency of their menopause so that they can make choices without having to wait for an external factor, you know, such as HRT, not to
Mm-hmm.
discredit it. That is one piece of the puzzle, but they have so much at their disposal. But now I am going to shift a little bit and say, okay, before we get started on our program, do your human design, your free chart on
Yeah.
Lori's website helps me understand, okay, now I know what you're, I mean, I can't read it, but I'll know a little bit more about, okay, this is why this person is very fidgety in my class, for example, and this person is completely on the floor, pile of sweat saying, I can't do this anymore. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think that in truly to honor the role of a doula, we have to show up in compassionate listeners. And as a coach, you have to show up where your client is at. You coach
Mm-hmm.
the client in front of you, not the program, because it always
Right.
has to adjust. And that little tidbit of information of knowing their human design gives me that aha, I get it. Let's adjust, let's modify so that you can reap all the benefits and have success because there are so many programs out there that are cookie cutter design. You
Yeah.
just do this, you will get these results, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit. And I always often feel like I'm not fitting into that program. I don't, so I'm
Mm.
very apprehensive when I see all these buy this, buy that, and try this and try that because it is so cookie cutter. It's like, no, coach me, not your program to the masses. Coach me,
Yeah.
and I want to coach you. And this is
Yeah.
exactly what you do with your clients. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
So much synchronicity going on here. I love this. I love this. I love this. Beautiful.
Same. So good.
We could talk for hours, honestly, for hours and hours, but I want to leave our listeners with one thing, knowing that there's multiple different, well, 5 designs.
Mm-hmm.
But what is one thing that a perimenopause, menopausal woman can do just to find some grace, some
Mm.
respite, if you will, as she is going through this massive transition and trying to honor who she truly is?
Yeah. I think a great place to start is with learning what your energy type is,
Right.
because if you know that information, then you understand not only how to honor the way that your energy works, and I usually split it between sacral beings, generators and manifesting generators, and non-sacral beings, manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. So learning the difference between which camp you're in and
Okay.
how your energy affects other people, because as much as we want to focus on ourselves in this phase of life, we're in relationship with other people consistently and constantly. And I think
Mm.
learning your energy type and also learning the energy type of your loved ones can
Oh.
help you to build so much empathy and understanding, not only for yourself, but also for the people that you're, consistently around. And as we know, hormones and the havoc that they wreak on our emotions, how ragey we can get. I think knowing other people's human design can be really helpful for you to just say, like, okay, for example, if I'm a projector mom and I have generator children, they're
Ah,
probably going to exhaust me. And just understanding that is a step in the right direction. And then being able to communicate that to your partner. Let's say your partner is a generator being. You can just say, look, I really need you to take the kids or take the lead for this, and I need to go take a projector nap. That's what I need to function. And there can be this understanding versus blame or selfishness or whatever. So I think energy type is a great place to start.
wow. What a shift in the school system it would be if we knew this information. Oh, I can just
No.
imagine. Oh my goodness. But it goes back to the two things, the old adage, seek first to understand before being understood, understand
Mm,
the energy of others. And I think the second thing is when we say, especially in a fitness class or a class of any type, it's like honor your energy. If you need
mm,
to rest in Shavasana or child's pose, honor that energy. If you need to
mhm.
take a break, if you need to, I always say, if you need to take a hot second to take a little break, take that break and then get right back in when you're ready. Because it's, oh, permission to be myself. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Oh, Lori, I want to bring you back. It's been a delight. We'll get all of your links in the show notes, including where you can find your free chart to find out what everybody's energy is. And stay tuned for more details of part 2 of this amazing episode. Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
I can't encourage you enough to go check out Lori Lisai's website. And there you'll get a link to do a free guide. You'll find out what your chart is. And it's at Lori Lisai, LoriLisai.com. You can also find her podcast on Apple at Midlife by Design. She's on YouTube at Lori Lisai Midlife by Design. And she's on Instagram at Lori Lisai, as well as on her Facebook, Lori.Lisai. If today's insights resonated with you, I'd love for you to be a part of our growing community of menopause disruptors. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. And if you know someone who can benefit from these conversations, please share this episode. Sometimes a simple act of sharing can be the first step in someone's healing journey. And hey, if you're ready to take the next step in your menopause journey, I'm here to support you. You can find all my services, including my comprehensive menopause intelligence digital course, one-on-one coaching programs, and workplace education services at mlcoaching.com. It's in the show notes. Want to stay connected and get regular doses of menopause wisdom? Follow me on Instagram at Menopause Disruptor Podcast, where I share tips, insights, and real conversations about navigating this transformative phase of life. Let's continue to disrupt this menopause conversation together. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.